Hello everyone and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Irene and today we're gonna be showing you guys the only marksman guide that you're gonna ever need. This video is valuable for all players who wanna improve their gameplay, be it as a marksman or against marksman. So hit that sub button and let's get into it. So what actually is a marksman and what's his job? Marksmen are designed to deal the highest and most consistent damage to their opponents. They are primarily required to do the heavy lifting when it comes to big objectives, towers, or generally dealing with anything that requires DPS. I bet you've all seen it. You just killed half the enemy team and want to go for Baron Nashor, but your ADC is dead. What's going to happen now? Well, honestly, you probably won't have enough damage to kill the Baron fast enough. Ever seen what a Kai'Sa or a Jinx do to it? It's nuts. It just melts. More than that, they're able to completely take over a team fight, taking out the enemies in very quick fashion. And that is why we love them, and you should love them too. And quickly, before we go deeper into the marksman role, check out our Discord in the comments below, and hit like and subscribe to never miss anything Wild Rift ever again. Alright guys, it's time to look at laning. When you think about laning, what comes to mind? Well, probably minions. Minions are quite strong on the Wild Rift, they grant a lot of gold, and dish out a lot of damage as well. However, let us look at laning from a strategic point of view. What is your goal in the laning phase? Survive? Stomp? It really depends on the matchup. Let's imagine you are Ashe, and your goal in lane will primarily consist of poking the enemy with your volley over and over until they can't lane anymore. Taking extended trades early on for no reason wouldn't work in your favor. Because of your range and poke, you have the ability to dictate when you want to take a fight. That is your strength. Make use of it. Now picture yourself as Draven. You have the highest damage level 1 possible. Taking any extended trade would absolutely work in your favor, unless you've already been poked beforehand. If you want to be an insane ADC, you have to think about your champion and their kit. All champions have different ideas as to how they want to lane, and it's very important to understand each champion's specific strengths in order to counter them. Walking close to a last hit when the enemy Jinx shoots a rocket at you every single time doesn't sound like a good time, does it? And one thing that you shouldn't forget is you do not need to kill your lane opponent. Securing most farm and safely scaling towards your item breakpoints is good enough. To put this into perspective, a fight with the build to early evolve a Cathian Rain on Kai'Sa is going to be significantly easier than just brawling randomly. Now that we've quickly tackled a bit of the theory behind the marksman matchups, we have to take the support role into account. Dragon lane is a duo lane, so we're playing 2v2. Similar to the ADC matchup, we have to consider the support matchup and how it influences our lane. Pair an Alistar with a Kai'Sa, and you have a deadly combination. Alistar's CC applies Kai'Sa's passive marks, which greatly increase her burst damage upon proccing them. In addition to granting her free passive stacks, he's also locking them down. This guarantees Kai'Sa to hit her Void Seeker for even more damage. Keep in mind that normally, she wouldn't have such an easy time hitting that one. Consequently, Alistar's goal is to go in and give Kai'Sa an opportunity to capitalize on. If you happen to identify this early on, even in the draft, you may suggest your support to pick a specific champion. I'd recommend you take a look at Braum or Janna. Both of these can give Alistar a very hard time, especially when he's thinking about engaging. As an ADC, it's very important to be vocal about what you want to play with. Don't shy away from suggesting picks to your support if you think that would greatly increase your chances of winning. And now for our question of the day. What is your favorite marksman? Mine personally is Ezreal. I'm kind of a skill shot kind of guy. I don't really like relying on basic attacking to bring people down. But let me know your answers in the comments below, and let's get back into this video. Next up the list is the concept of space in lane. We've already introduced that Dragon lane is a duo lane. This forces us to take the movement and position of 3 other champions into consideration. Here's what I mean by that. Enemies usually display their intent in lane by how they're moving. They can be, in theory, way stronger than you. However, in reality, they may not be aware of that. Picture a Janna Kai'Sa lane that isn't fighting for wave control early game against an Alistar and a Jinx. They're basically offering Alistar a free ticket past his weak level 1 without punishing him for it. The same thing can also happen in reverse. You may think that you're stronger, but you're not. Just think of the Alistar trying to go for a play level 1. What do you think is going to happen? Well, unless Kai'Sa and Janna mysteriously mess up, the Alistar is going to die. If you want to avoid those situations, make sure to give your teammates a quick heads up by using appropriate pings or even a short message. Therefore, it is very important to always adjust your position appropriately. This means taking your opponent's and allies' positioning into account. So even if your opponent makes a lot of mistakes, you can't just punish him without thinking about your and their positioning. Naturally, you'll find yourself in frustrating situations where you cannot do anything about their mistakes. But here's what I've learned over years of experience. Don't force the issue. Just take the farm and wait for an opportunity. You can't command your teammates to do your bidding, but you can suggest what you want them to do. Even if it only works a few times, it is, however, totally thanks to you. Don't miss out on creating these chances. If you're playing Dragon Lane, you should also be on the lookout for a potential duo. It is most definitely an opportunity you don't want to miss out on. Both of you can consistently work together to improve your skills. Just think of playing with someone and being able to directly speak to them via voice. This makes laning way easier, as you're able to instantly and accurately tell them what you need and want to happen. More than that though, you're able to go for far more complex plays than you could usually go for in solo queue. Another nice bonus of playing duo is just the sheer factor of enjoyment, which in the end will make you perform better. Having a duo, especially in the Marksman role, gives you more agency in lane and in the game. Can you imagine how fantastic that feels? And best of all, you can just add people from your solo queue games and play. Be open to playing with new people. It's fun improving together. Now remember the idea of power spikes? Proper recall timings can supplement your power spike and agency in lane. You've just pushed a cannon wave into the enemy tower, but cannot kill the enemy laners. They're stuck under their tower and want to get every last hit possible. But what are you going to do? You have multiple options. You can attempt to go for a plate. However, is it really worth it? Let's face it, just getting a few pieces of gold is nice, but what if I told you you could do something way better? Recall. Go back to base, replenish your resources, and buy an item, even if it's just another longsword. Remember, the enemy is still stuck under their tower, unable to replenish resources nor spend their gold. As a consequence, you'll have a lead over your opponent who now has to make a decision. Stay in lane and give up last hits or positioning due to your advantages in resources and items, or recall, lose last hits, and potential tower platings. Your enemy cannot win. It will always be a lose-lose situation for him if you do it correctly. It's an underused yet completely broken strategy no one should disregard. Also, purchasing the right items for the right situations is a mandatory skill set you need to acquire to become one of the most elite players. When you see a lot of assassins on the enemy team, just buy a stasis enchant. Trust me, you won't regret it, ever. In addition to that, you should also be regularly checking the enemy scoreboard to see what they're itemizing, just in case you need to change up your build because of that. Do you want to find out more about itemization and why it's so important? Then we strongly recommend checking out the only item guide you will ever need in Wild Rift. Any advantage you can get matters. Next up are objectives and rotations linked to them. It's not uncommon to feel kind of lost on the map, but don't worry, we're going to help you out. As the ADC, you're the primary DPS for big objectives and should be close to them. Being close to them requires foresight and a bit of planning. Sitting on Dragon Lane while Baron Nashor is available isn't a good position to be in. Ideally, the ADC wants to take care of the enemy tower in his lane and then rotate for another turret. With this, you're maximizing your gold income as well as having a lot of impact on the game. And now for the tricky part, how to get dragons. Coordination and communication are key here. Ping your teammates and suggest to them what you want to do. Here's an example of how to pull it off. You're seeing that your jungle is close to your lane. Raise awareness and ask him for a gank with pings. If the gank works in your favor, you might as well instantly transition into taking the dragon. When you think a gank is not likely to work, you can still push out the wave and rotate to the dragon. The enemy has to make a decision again. Come to the dragon or take the wave. They can't get both. Your job here is to make sure that you are in a good position to deal damage to the dragon while not exposing yourself to unnecessary risks. After taking down the dragon, you can return to your lane and farm the remaining minions. Roughly about 1 minute or even earlier, you can start going to the lane which is closest to the next upcoming objective. When the dragon spawns and, for example, your Baron laner is getting 4-manned, you can quickly take another dragon in response to the enemy play. Now, the primary takeaway here is to never give the enemy anything for free. You have to put yourself in a position where you can take the most while losing the least. Make sure to look at the objective timers and the minimap. Use all the information you're given and make the best out of it. If you want to be one of the best players on the Wild Rift, then you should try calling the shots. Personally, even if I end up annoying my teammates a little bit, I feel that the more I use my pings for coordination, the more positively my teams react. Last but not least comes one of the most important parts of being an ADC, and that is teamfighting. When you're teamfighting, you have to pay close attention to your surroundings, your allies, and your enemies alike. It is a very stressful and high-pressure environment. Making it as easy as possible for you would be very helpful. In order to do that, you have to think about the things we talked about regarding space in laning and champions kits. Quickly assess the enemy's goals and think about what they want to do. If the enemy team has a Zed, you can't just walk up and attack. He'll most likely take you out instantly, unless you have the stasis enchant and you can potentially bait him into a play that seems good but isn't. However, being comboed on by an Alistar and forced to use the stasis enchant for a supporter, that doesn't seem too appealing to me. You have to be aware of the relative threat that the enemy champions pose to you and position accordingly. Consequently, you'll often find yourself in situations where you can just attack the closest target to you. Even so, don't lose focus. Look for the closest available high-priority targets, such as enemy carries. Once the enemy uses vital cooldowns, such as the Alistar combo on your allies, you can be more aggressive. The Alistar is now not a threat for a short period of time, and you need to capitalize on that to carry your team fight. Every second that you deal damage to high-priority targets counts. And don't worry, we know that this is not easy to pull off, but the best Wild Rift players are able to instantly assess the threat of champions inside of a team fight. If they can do it, what stops you from doing it? We believe in you. So if you're trying out the Marksman role yourself, or you just wanted to learn how to beat them, I hope you guys learned something today. Thanks for watching, everyone, and make sure to hit like and subscribe to never miss anything Wild Rift ever again. I mean it, we're actually gonna have everything here. Also, don't forget to tell us your answer to the question of the day in the comments down below. I'm really looking forward to actually seeing what you guys have to say. That's it for the video, so good luck in your games, and I will see you next time.